welcome to my YouTube channel. It's a pleasure having you here with me. If you guys don't know James, he's a full stack developer, a developer advocate, and a professional YouTuber. So, how are you, James?
Hey, doing good. I'm like playing around with my lights and camera and stuff, which I feel like sounds like a YouTuber thing to do, but I'm doing good. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay. So, we have interacted a lot through your Discord server, right? But I'm quite still not, I don't know much about your journey. So, what was your developer journey like?
Yeah, I have a computer science degree, so it was pretty random. Like I didn't know what to study in college, and I just picked computer science, not having any idea what it was. And obviously ended up really enjoying it and loving it. And I was applying for jobs coming out of college and got turned down twice at Microsoft, and then eventually got the third role that I applied for, which was a technical evangelist. So it's a lot of the same type of stuff that I'm doing now as a developer advocate, creating content, speaking at conferences, doing workshops, that sort of stuff. So that was how I got into it. I did that for 3 years. Then my wife and I moved to Memphis, worked at FedEx for 3 years doing software development and architecture. And then about a year and a half ago, started with Auth0 as a developer advocate. And then my most recent thing is I've now become the developer marketing media manager. So I spend a lot of time working with our technical content, YouTube videos, Twitter Spaces, working with other creators, that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's actually great. So, do you think it's necessary to have a degree for a developer? Like,
No, not at all. I actually there's so many like amazing resources out there, especially for free. Like if anybody's interested in learning, you can start on YouTube and have plenty of opportunities to get exposed to what programming is. Free code camp is great. I took a bunch of Udemy courses in my learning journey outside of school, which like changed my career. Like that's how I got into web development, was the Udemy course. So yeah, there's plenty of resources out there that are free, cheap, paid. You absolutely don't need a degree. And for me, like I didn't learn near as much as I should have during my degree because I treated it like school. Like I didn't really appreciate, I didn't really want to learn. I just wanted to get good grades. So I've learned so much more by self-teaching and doing some of those other resources than I ever did in college.
yeah, that's actually great. Even I'm just learning through Free Code Camp, and I'm currently learning JavaScript for the past 1.5 months. And
Nice.
so, yeah, Free Code Camp is a best resource. So before moving on to further questions, I really want to compliment you for your YouTube videos. I'm much into your YouTube videos, and how do you make these YouTube videos? How did you get started with YouTube?
I got started when I was working at Microsoft, and it was really just a way for me. Like I was doing these in-person workshops, and it was a way for me not to have to answer the same questions over and over again. Like as people would have the same questions because I did the workshop 50 times or something. I could record videos and just point people to a video so that they could like pause, rewind, that sort of stuff. And that allowed me to basically like teach to more people in a room. Like if I had 20 people, I can't spend much one-on-one time with every person. So it was really just a way to do that. And then I started doing a little bit more with no strategy, no plans. I never thought I would be a YouTuber. I never thought I would be a content creator per se. Like I was just kind of doing it. And when I left Microsoft and was working at FedEx doing software development, I realized I miss speaking at conferences. I miss creating content. I miss being like more active in the community. And I started doing it again. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I started taking YouTube seriously and started to spend more time doing videos. And for the last 2 or 3 years, I've done a video almost every week. Like if there's 52 weeks in a year, probably 48 weeks I've done a video. So every once in a while I don't, but it's just fun. It's a great way for me to learn new things. It's a great way for me to teach people stuff, and a great way for me to experiment with different technologies and frameworks and that sort of stuff.
So that's wow, that's really great. And when it comes to making YouTube videos, sometimes I feel like it's overwhelming, to be honest. I can't able to manage my times and some other
Mhm.
deadlines. So how do you exactly manage your time?
Yeah, I try. Like I think the probably the most important thing I do is try to make sure that it's fun. Because if you ever get to a point where you're trying to force yourself to do something that's fun, it's not going to be fun and it's going to feel like work. And I don't want it to feel that way. So I've got a pretty aggressive goal of doing one video a week. So I try to make that happen. But like I said, like if I'm traveling or if I just don't feel like it some week, like occasionally I don't. And so I try not to put much pressure on myself in that regard. So I don't know. I plan on doing a video every Tuesday morning. If I have time, I'll do an additional video on Thursday. I just released one today, so it's my second one for the week. So I just try to keep to that cadence. But I think the number one thing is just to make sure that it's something I enjoy. Because if it's stuff that I have fun and enjoy doing, I don't have to look at it as like forcing myself to do it. I don't have to look at it as work. It's just a hobby, something I enjoy doing anyway.
So, by looking at your YouTube channel, you are completely into web development, right? So, how did you get started with web development?
Udemy course, actually. So the Web Developer Bootcamp by Colt Steele was basically the first web development I'd ever done. So I spent a lot of time with like mobile development when I was at Microsoft for like tablets and phones and Windows 10, and took a couple courses on Udemy with Android and iOS to kind of refresh my knowledge of how that stuff worked. And I decided to just give the Web Developer Bootcamp a shot. And I was always really scared of JavaScript, honestly, because like Java and C Sharp, they're strongly typed. They have IntelliSense that like they kind of box you in to make sure you're doing the right thing. But JavaScript is like you can do whatever you want for the most part, including like mess everything up. So I was really nervous about that. But I think the turning point for me was just realizing like the code I was writing actually enabled me to build something. Like a lot of what we did in college was stuff that wasn't practical. It wasn't stuff I could go and show people. It wasn't stuff I could demo. But now taking that course, I had the ability to build something that was real and then show, like I could send you a URL and you could go see the app that I built. And that was the game changer for me, was just being able to see the results of the time I put in and writing code. Like literally after that course, I fell in love with that. And I started looking into WordPress a lot more. And then I went into Ruby on Rails, and then kind of came back to the JavaScript ecosystem and have been there ever since. So I did full stack web development at FedEx, and then everything that I've done in my personal time, videos, projects, that sort of stuff has been full stack JavaScript as well.
So, great. So, as I said earlier, I'm just learning JavaScript. So, do you have any favorite stack or technologies which you use day to day?
Yeah. So if you're doing a regular backend, Express is pretty much the go-to framework with Node. So to use JavaScript to do your backend. I'm a big React person on the front end, and then also Next.js is a framework built on top of React that allows you basically like really a lot of flexibility on how you build your application. So I don't know how much familiar you are or people that are watching this are, but the idea of server-side rendering versus client-side rendering versus statically generated pages, Next.js gives you the flexibility to do all of that, which is really neat. That's kind of my framework of choice. I've also tried Svelte and Svelte Kit recently. So Svelte is similar to Angular, React, and Vue. Svelte Kit is similar to what Next.js is. And Svelte is really interesting. It's a pretty easy syntax. It feels a little more natural, I think, than React and some of the other frameworks. So I like it a lot. I'm kind of curious to see how it grows more as more people use it, and it gets a little older and more sophisticated and that sort of stuff. But I think Svelte and Svelte Kit has been pretty cool.
And you said that React is your favorite, right? But I'm
Mhm.
about to get started with the JS framework. So, what do you recommend for a complete newbie like me?
It honestly, in a lot of ways, I don't think it matters that much. Like a lot of people are pretty opinionated about it. I would say React or Vue is probably the easiest way, and actually maybe Svelte. I think Angular in particular, I like Angular a lot, but Angular comes with a lot of extra things that are harder to grasp, especially as you're learning. So I think React is great in the sense that it's extremely popular. There's tons of tutorials. You won't have any problem finding content. Vue, I think, is fairly similar in that regard, and a lot of people like the syntax of Vue a little bit better. Svelte, I think, is again like one of the easiest syntaxes out there, especially coming from vanilla JavaScript. But you won't find as many learning resources and tutorials with Svelte as you would with React or Vue. So I would probably start with React or Vue, and like people may give you really opinionated responses. Both of them are great. Both of them are a great place to start.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So, let me just start with React then.
Sounds good.
So you started your YouTube channel on 2011, right? And you have more than 300 videos. But if you recently started your own podcast, so is there any reason behind that?
By any reason for starting the podcast?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was something I had been kind of interested in for a while. Talking is really easy for me. Doing videos, obviously, there's a lot of talking. I've spoken at conferences now for years. I've done Twitter Spaces and been a guest on podcasts and stuff for years. And I always thought podcasts would be really interesting. I just didn't think I had the time and the energy to do it. And so my co-host Amy Dutton, we had done a live stream together. She said she really enjoyed talking to me. She was great, and she said she was wanting to start a podcast and asked if I was interested in doing it with her. And my initial reaction was like, I would love to. I don't have time. Like I've got so many other things going on. And anyway, so she basically said like I can, or she would take care of the majority of the logistics, setting everything up, publishing, editing, that sort of stuff. And I could help with the recording, coming up with topics, looking for sponsors, that sort of stuff. And anyway, so that's how it started with her, just like having the idea. And she sent me kind of a pitch and like the brand, the stuff that she had designed, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I think from there, like I knew she would be a person worth working with, like going out of my way to work with. And so we've done some other things, small things outside of that. We just enjoy talking to each other. So like every time we get together to record an episode, we spend the first 30 minutes just like talking and hanging out because we enjoy talking to each other. So I think that's worked out really well. We're like 20 episodes in, which is kind of hard to believe, but we're both really enjoying it.
That's great. How many episodes do you have like in your podcast?
I think the latest one is 20. Let me double check.
Okay.
I think it's 20 though. On the compress.fm site, you can see what's there. So yeah, the latest episode is episode 20, which is about learning and building in public, something that her and I are both pretty passionate and excited about.
Okay, great. So as you can see, I'm actually nervous right now. So, so can you give me some tips to speak in front of a large audience, more like a public speaking?
Yeah. One, start with a small audience. That's part of it. Like, you being able to do this and do other YouTube videos, like I would keep doing that stuff. I'll say like I walked into a job coming out of college where my job became speaking. I never thought that would be my job. I never felt comfortable giving a presentation in college. So it's 100% like a learned and practiced skill. So I think you're already doing good stuff there. One of the things you could look into doing is post COVID, like if and when we start doing things in person or even virtually, but meetups are almost always looking for presenters, and they're looking for new topics, and they're usually, the good ones are pretty supportive of people that are doing their first talk. So those are great places to look. I would say just choose a topic that you're interested in, that you're passionate about. If that is like 5 things that you struggled with when you were learning JavaScript, like that would be really good, because most people, like me as an experienced JavaScript developer, I don't remember what it's like to learn it, to not know. So you've got a really unique perspective in that sense. So yeah, I would say like try to pitch an idea to a local meetup, either in person or virtual, depending on what's going on there. Continue to do YouTube videos, and the more you do that sort of stuff, the more learning in public, the more content you create, the more exposure you get. And then at some point, like conferences start to reach out to you and ask you if you want to come and speak at their conference, which that's a pretty cool, or be on their video or podcast or whatever, which is a pretty cool thing to do. So yeah, I mean, this is me now giving advice after doing this professionally for 10 years. I was a totally different person and had no public speaking skills at all when I started.
And when it comes to making YouTube videos or public speaking, I used to take people opinions like so personally. So how do you deal with mean comments and trolls?
Most of them I ignore. I think there's kind of variations of negative comments. You can have negative comments that actually have some good feedback in them. Like some people are just not very good at presenting it in a nice way, in a way that makes it easy to accept. So some people say some ridiculous things, but in there is like, okay, there's a little bit of feedback that I could take. Some people say stuff that's just completely off the wall and doesn't have anything to take away. And so I think the biggest thing is to look at every comment as a potential learning opportunity, and then it's up to you to gauge whether or not there's something for you to learn from that comment. If there's not, then you just completely ignore it and say thanks for watching the video and move on. I also have realized it's really interesting if people send like a negative comment and you respond in a not mean way, like if you just respond thanks for the feedback or whatever, they almost immediately come back, oh, I'm so sorry, I was so mean, like I really didn't think you would respond. So I think a lot of it is people get kind of shocked when you do respond. So I tend to respond to comments. I don't go back and forth and fight with people. If I respond and it's a pretty negative one, it's just to say like, okay, well, I appreciate your opinion, thanks for watching, and that's it. Like I don't need it to be anything more than that. So I think the more comments you get, the more of an audience you have, the more of those you get, but you just learn to ignore them and brush them off and move on.
And you have already done more than 300 videos plus 20 episodes. So it's, I don't think you will be nervous or when it comes to dealing with trolls or comments. So apart from this, and you used to make some anthems, right? Anthems, rap.
Yeah.
So how all those things started?
Yeah, so I've actually on the rap side. So we have the Aussie rap, which got published a couple weeks
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
And so doing like rap music is something I've done since I was in college. A friend of mine got me into it, and it was really just a way. It was almost like a journal for me. Like it was pretty personal stuff that it was kind of an outlet for me to talk about it, but basically to myself. I shared it with like some friends and family and stuff, but that was about it. And I wanted to use that outlet for something more generic that other people in the developer community, like it's just a way for me to use that creative outlet and have something that's entertaining for other people and have people engage with it. So I took like a couple of hours out of work one day and just like wrote the song for the Aussie rap, recorded it, then we got a video editor to finish it out, and it was really cool. So we ended up publishing that a couple of weeks ago, and the response, like I was nervous to send that sort of thing out publicly because it's different, but people were super supportive. They seemed to really enjoy it. So that's something I want to do more of. I've done a couple of the developer anthem things. They're like nursery rhymes so far. I want to do more of that, and I want to do those more in like a rap format and continue to do them on TikTok and Twitter because I think they've been fun too.
And do you think it's necessary for a YouTube channel to share their behind the scenes and bloopers?
I don't think it's necessary. Like I've never really done that. I'll leave in a little clip every once in a while. I think it's nice. Like I think it's fun. I don't think it's necessary though, because usually they come at the end. And if you look at like retention rates on YouTube, not that many people are watching all the way to the end, so not a lot of people are going to see it. But that could also be an interesting way. Like if you always have bloopers at the end, people may stick around longer because they specifically want to watch them. So no, I don't see them that often, honestly, especially in the tech community. You see them more in some of the other just general YouTuber videos that are more generic, but they are fun. I think they're really fun.
So apart from YouTube and podcast, do you have any other hobbies, like any side projects?
Yeah, so hobbies is like everything sports. My wife and I played co-ed soccer together for 10 years. She played in college. I worked with our women's basketball team in college, so I still play basketball now. My wife and I have been golfing basically every weekend. So we started playing last October, and we've played most weekends since then. So we've gotten really into playing golf. I've also started like trying to become more of a handyman, like building stuff. So I just my closet over here, you can't see at this angle, but I just renovated this closet. So I took out everything that was in there and then put in some shelves and like cut the things that I needed and repaired the stuff that I messed up. And it actually looks really good. It's kind of cool to see like the parallels between that and learning programming, because like I was so bad at everything I was doing and it just came from practice. So like when people give the advice of what's the best way to learn programming or JavaScript, and people say like just build stuff, like it's 100% true. And that's exactly, like I can't tell you how many small random things I've learned from trying to renovate this closet myself.
And I recently saw your tweet where you got injured, right? Hope you're doing good now.
Yeah, not specifically injured, just my knee has been hurting. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but it was just sore. So I was resting with it up on one of the shelves in the kitchen and laying down on the floor.
And I started my YouTube channel like a week back. And do you think it's necessary for a person to have high tech gadgets for making YouTube videos or podcast?
No, I think the biggest piece of advice is just start with what you have. And like I've also obviously got a ton of equipment now, but it's come over the course of again like 8 years. So no, I don't think so at all. Like you can start with your phone. You can start with like just these headphones if you want to. You've got a mic, so you've got that going. Yeah, I think it's one of the things that you don't go all in to start. Like make some videos if you enjoy it, make some more videos. If you see, oh, my lighting really isn't what I want it to be, then buy a light. And then you say, okay, well, my audio isn't what I want it to be, then buy a new microphone, then buy a new cam. Like it's a constantly evolving thing. And I'm always kind of looking on Amazon for the next thing I want to add to my desk. I just ordered like a bunch of different things last night when I was laying in bed. So I'm excited for them to come in a couple of days and put them on my desk.
And apart from that, you have done many things, right? YouTube podcast, and even you're writing some blogs. Do you have any goal?
I don't know. Like eventually, if I could do content full time, I might be interested in that. I think it like the cool thing about doing it now is I get to make extra income. So I get money from YouTube ads, and we have sponsors for the podcast, and then I do sponsor videos on YouTube and a few other things. So like it's nice to have a full-time job that I really enjoy. Like I love the job and the team and the company that I'm at. And then I also love to be able to do my own personal stuff. So I don't know, just continuing to grow as a content creator, grow my audience, create more. I want to do a better job of creating courses for people. A part of that is Amy, who is the co-host of the Compressed FM podcast, is working on a complete redesign for me of all of my stuff, which I'm really, really excited about. So yeah, just continue to grow. I think eventually if like potential options are if I could do content full time, that would be great. If I could build like a SaaS product, I'm really kind of jealous of people that build products and then make money off those and just get to do what they love every day. I think that's super cool too. So I don't know, the ratio, the balance of personal stuff versus work, I think is really good right now. So I'm just going to keep working at that for the time being.
And as a content creator, do you think it's easy to make money?
I wouldn't say it's easy. I would say it's doable. And so like I've got several different ways that I make money now. But it's also, again, over the course of several years of creating videos, of getting better at the process of creating courses, of experimenting. I'll say like as a creator in general, there's a million different things to learn. Like again, lights, camera, audio, how do you put it all together? How do you edit your videos? How do you get better at editing your videos? How do you market something that you want to sell? How do you create a landing page? How you do newsletters? Like there's so many things that come along with it that it's not hard. It's definitely doable. And I think more than ever, people are starting to realize that because you're seeing more content creators, you're seeing more people writing articles, doing YouTube videos exactly like you're doing. So I think it's definitely doable, but I wouldn't say it's easy. It takes a lot of time and hard work to get to the point where you can make anything and then to be able to scale that up to make even more.
And as you said, many developers are now recently started having their own YouTube channel. And do you think it's necessary for a developer to have YouTube channel?
I don't think it's necessary. I think a lot of it comes down to what your goals are, but I think the general idea, again, going back to the podcast, the learning and building in public, there's so many benefits with that. I mean, if you're a developer and you became the most famous developer in the world, it's going to be easy for you to get your next job, right? And to be able to advocate for more money and more benefits and all those things. So I think having content in general is a great supplement to your resume, because when I applied for my job at All Zero, like my resume was fine, but it was really like the YouTube channel and the videos of the talks I've given. Those are the things that really spoke for my experience and my abilities in that regard. So I think content can augment or replace your resume, be even more important than your resume at times. It can also gain some visibility to you. You never know like who from what company is going to read your article, and they're hiring a person to do the job that you're looking for, and they reach out because of reading the article or watching the video or whatever. So I think like if you want something that can help open up doors for you and opportunities, then creating content is definitely one of those things I would encourage people to do, while also acknowledging it takes time. Like it's doable, but it does take time and effort. And some people don't have as much time. Some people just don't enjoy it. And I think that's part of it too, is finding, if you want to create content, finding the type of content that you enjoy creating. I do a lot of video because that's easiest for me and I enjoy it. I don't do as many articles because it's not as enjoyable for me. I wish I did more, but it's just not as fun. It's harder for me than it is to do a video.
So can you give us like 5 tips for a complete beginner to get started?
With creating
Yeah,
content?
content creation.
Five. Okay. So first thing would be one, just start. Like start with what you have. Don't worry about buying a bunch of extra equipment. Second thing would be like ship something. Like ship the blog post, ship the video. It may be terrible the first time, but that's how you learn and that's how you know what to do better next time. The third thing would be do like your first piece of content and your content after that, just do something that you recently learned. Like if you're learning JavaScript and you just learned about JavaScript arrays, create content about JavaScript arrays. Like you're the best person, having just learned it, to be able to explain that to someone else that is also looking to learn. So three. Number four, consistency. Like if you want to grow with it and you want to get better at it, you can't just do it once and think it was a failure and then not keep doing it. Like you have to, like you said, I'm over 300 videos at this point. So you have to do it more than once. You have to do it for a while to get better at it and to see how people respond. And the other thing, five, I guess, is like share your stuff, but also just engage in the community. Like one of the best things that I have is I'm in a Discord group of YouTubers, and they're very open about sharing tips and tricks, gear they use, talking about sponsors that they've worked with. And that's one of the things that's been super helpful for me, is to help connect with other people that are doing YouTube videos as well. So I would say just get involved in the community, whatever makes the most sense for you, because having a group of people around you that you trust, that you can ask questions and get feedback and that kind of stuff, is really, really helpful.
That's really great. And as I said before, it's an honor to have you here. And thanks for coming to this wonderful interview.
Cool. All right. I'll talk to you later. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, yeah.